I want to answer that question, but I'll step back a bit and speak as an economist who understands many economies around the world are working.
Yes.
Even the most vibrant of economies, the large and vibrant ones, it is the small businesses that are the most dynamic component.
Does it?
Let's take America, let's take Japan, let us take China now,
the
very vibrant, the muscle ones in the world. A huge proportion of their employment, first of all, comes from small industries. And small industries are the dynamic component of this colossus, that you'd call the economy, as it were. And if one doesn't, if in an economy you don't pay attention to them,
yes,
you slow down the overall process. Now, let us take Kenya. Kenya, the contribution to GDP, 80% is from the informal sector, where small businesses and so on are located. So it's a very important sector of the economy. Small, informal, that's what we are as an economy. We as KDC will probably have slightly greater appetite for risk among these enterprises than might be a purely private institution. That's broadly speaking. There may be exceptions to it, and I can talk about exceptions later. Mm-hmm. So, because we are an institution wholly owned by government, 100% of our capital owned by government, it doesn't mean therefore that you can go just throw it out and lose it, but we are saying we exist for the purpose of supporting this industry we have, and our industry is largely small. There may be very few exceptions around it. So this is who we are. This is why we exist. So we have a challenge, and we demonstrate it, I'm sure, even to commercial banks and others, that we're able to carve out profitable operations or operations that meet the overall goals on return on capital and so on, whose risks are not extraordinary, as a matter of fact. So KDC would then be in a category apart, let's say, and I don't want to mention names, from a purely largely owned, privately owned banks who will be worrying about their owners saying, hey, they're not going to be too risky, you really want to go there and so on.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, once you get operators in like KDC, and before it, like ICDC used to do, like IDB used to do,
yes,
you find that in fact, yes, you can identify manageable risk institutions within this whole spectrum of many small companies, initiatives, and so on and so forth. And the reason why people perceive fear to get into areas because of risk-based assessments is because you don't have enough information. If you begin operating in it, you find that you can actually get adequate information to make the commitments that you want to make.
Yes.
So yes, it is a risky area, definitely, but so is business overall.
Tanza.
And that is Kenya. That's where we are. And we find that in fact there are many opportunities for well-conceived proposals that are all from the private sector, from individuals and companies, that they have thought about. They themselves go into this knowing there's an ambient environment of risk. So how do you navigate in it in a way that you don't lose your money in it? That is what the promoter will be looking to do. And if the promoter is prepared to take a risk with their own money as well, why shouldn't we be able to go in along with them and be able to support them? And because if we didn't do that, we would not be supporting Kenya. So I think the degree to which risk is perceived to be prohibitively high is probably exaggerated. But it also means that if you go in without taking the usual precautions you do when you design when you design a lending support or a financial support to an enterprise, you can of course go wrong.
Does it?
But now there are many techniques that you would use to try and abate the potential risk that would come from whatever you perceived would be the case. You look at the supply chains, for example, of that particular enterprise and how they're being conceived. You look at the cost management proposals of that specific enterprise, not the whole industry.
Yes.
That specific enterprise. You also, of course, can look at the macro risks that might be posed by virtue of public policy, if there is, and then you find ways in which you navigate around it. So, yes, there are risk business. The business of doing business is taking on risk.
Does it?
And now how you define your path through that is what makes differentiates players in the industry.
Pretty much. Other important points